The failure rate of large-scale ERP implementations is a heavily documented reality. The enterprise landscape is quite literally littered with multi-million-dollar software projects that ran over budget, missed their deadlines, or collapsed entirely under the weight of their own ambition. Today, we are conducting an executive postmortem on 3 deployments that actually survived this gauntlet. In this explainer, we are looking far beyond the vendor marketing and the hype. Our mandate is to extract the concrete operational architecture that separates a catastrophic failure from a measurable strategic success.
The operational reality out there is unforgiving. Large-scale ERP outcomes remain highly unpredictable, largely because organizations frequently approach these deployments as mere software installations. They fundamentally misunderstand the depth of structural transformation that is required. You have to remember that automating broken workflows only scales your inefficiencies. Before we examine the specific software architectures deployed in our case studies, we must first establish the foundational realities of the organizations that implemented them. We will analyze how Cadbury, Nestlé, and ABC Compounding confronted severe operational bottlenecks and engineered successful outcomes through a rigorous, uncompromising alignment of process, people, and platform.
Our briefing roadmap today provides actionable intelligence. We are starting with this high-stakes overview, moving into Cadbury's pre-go-live groundwork, examining Nestlé's holistic reset, exploring SMB optimization via ABC compounding, and finally, laying out the overarching operational synthesis.
Section 1. Cadbury Groundwork. Pre-go-live requirements.
Cadbury's operational context was defined by rapid, sustained growth that had essentially created a severe bottleneck. Their legacy systems simply lacked the capacity to handle the increased velocity of both raw materials and outbound distribution. The intervention they required was severe. They selected SAP ERP to execute an end-to-end overhaul. Understand that this was not a localized patch. It was a comprehensive, structural integration designed specifically to replace failing frameworks with a unified system capable of supporting their massive new scale.
The deployment yielded specific, quantifiable gains across their entire supply chain. Cadbury successfully extended multi-node resource management, which provided unprecedented, real-time visibility into inventory positioning and movement across different facilities. The end-to-end warehouse overhaul completely eliminated the redundant manual processes that had previously choked their distribution channels. By securing this baseline core integrity first, the organization realized a sharp reduction in overall operating costs. The newly engaged supply chain infrastructure generated significant production efficiencies from the very beginning of the manufacturing chain all the way to the final delivery.
The central takeaway from the Cadbury deployment is absolute. Thorough requirements gathering before go-live is non-negotiable. Without this rigorous pre-implementation groundwork, ERP features rarely map cleanly to real operational needs. The organization understood early on that deploying sophisticated software over undocumented or chaotic business processes would only accelerate systemic failure. Their success was entirely dependent on defining the exact physical requirements of their supply chain long before they configured the digital architecture to manage it. Process must always precede platform.
Section 2. Nestlé Holistic Reset, Correcting Multinational Fragmentation. Operating across Swiss, UK, and US divisions, Nestlé faced the extreme complexity of multinational fragmentation. The US operation, for instance, had been attempting a complete ERP integration since the late 1990s, but it was entirely stalled. Conflicting regional requirements continually clashed with heavily inconsistent business processes across different geographies. Compounding these deep structural flaws was a severe human element. Employees suffered from intense change fatigue. They fought fiercely to protect their legacy workflows and what we call their identity capital within the organization, resulting in a fractured and highly dysfunctional landscape that resisted modernization at every turn.
The financial exposure here was immense. Nestlé had committed $200 million to their ERP initiative. Faced with a stalled rollout and mounting technical debt, management made a definitive, calculated decision. They outright refused to continue patching a fundamentally broken integration. They abandoned the vendor marketing hype, confronted the harsh reality of their situation, and opted to rebuild their business requirements from the ground up rather than throw more capital at a sinking architectural ship.
This willingness to stop and start over yielded profound structural transformations. Through Phase A stability, Nestlé achieved a consolidated accounting structure, replacing disparate regional ledgers with a clean, unified financial source of truth. Securing this baseline allowed for vastly enhanced communication across the entire global supply chain.
The resulting financial transparency finally gave executive leadership a clear, unobstructed line of sight into regional performance. Furthermore, by addressing the human element through proper process alignment, they cultivated a more empowered workforce. They successfully transformed initial internal resistance into true operational engagement.
The executive lesson derived from Nestlé is clear. Leadership must possess the courage to start over rather than build on a shaky foundation. Technical debt is a concrete balance sheet liability. Forcing a broken integration just to satisfy previous sunk costs is a guaranteed path to systemic ruin. Nestlé achieved cross-regional coordination only because they had the rigorous discipline to re-examine their business requirements from scratch and align their physical processes before re-engaging with the software platform.
Section 3. ABC Compounding, SMB Optimization.
Now we pivot to a small and medium-sized business perspective, which is just as mission-critical. ABC Compounding, an Atlanta manufacturer with 150 employees, faced a critical juncture where their unsupported legacy systems could no longer manage daily production planning and scheduling. Their chosen solution was highly deliberate and targeted. They selected Sage ERP X3. The objective here was not an expansive multinational transformation, but rather securing their critical daily operations and establishing a reliable, modern manufacturing baseline that could scale.
The vendor selection process was heavily influenced by direct executive experience. Chief Operating Officer Myra Hager had utilized Sage X3 in a previous role. She possessed a deep, practical familiarity with its comprehensive manufacturing capabilities. She noted that the time was right and the pricing to make the switch was very competitive. Her assessment reflects a deeply pragmatic executive decision-making process. The choice was grounded in known quantities and proven operational capability rather than flashy vendor promises.
The deployment generated immediate, tangible, operational efficiencies for an enterprise processing over 200 orders daily. The new system rapidly enabled automated work orders based strictly on real-time stock levels, ensuring production matched actual demand. It enhanced inventory tracking, eliminated the massive, error-prone time drain of manual data entry, and streamlined navigation for sales and service teams. This allowed them to handle complex customer requirements much faster on the front lines, protecting the integrity of their baseline operations.
The takeaway from ABC Compounding highlights a highly effective risk mitigation strategy. Prior system familiarity at the executive level drastically shortens the evaluation cycle and reduces implementation risk. Direct leadership experience with a specific software architecture is a legitimate, tangible asset. Leveraging this practical experience allows an organization to keep the project scope realistic, tightly controlled, and bypasses the steep learning curve that typically derails early-stage software deployments.
Section 4. The Synthesis. Transformation over software installation.
Analyzing all three of these deployments reveals a singular, unifying principle. Success is dictated by intent. A mere software installation attempts to patch broken workflows with new technology, which is essentially acting as a band-aid on a rusty gear. It completely ignores process decay. A business transformation, conversely, aligns the rollout with specific, documented operational demands. It confronts the human element, secures baseline data integrity, and redesigns the workflow before automating it. Remember, automating a chaotic process only results in faster chaos. Distilling the hard-hitting operational truths from our postmortem gives us a clear framework. Cadbury utilized SAP ERP and proved that rigorous requirements gathering must always precede go-live. Nestlé absorbed a $200 million lesson, proving that re-examining requirements from scratch is infinitely preferable to forcing a failed integration. And ABC Compounding demonstrated that leveraging prior executive familiarity keeps scope realistic and actively reduces risk. We conclude this explainer with a direct examination of your current operational roadmap. Look closely at your internal initiatives. Strip away the vendor presentations and the technical specifications. You must answer one fundamental question. What specific operational outcome are you building toward? If your current implementation plan does not clearly and directly reflect that outcome, you're already off course. The answer to this question dictates which features actually matter, which processes require structural redesign, and whether your organization is truly prepared for the reality of deployment.